I'm debating whether or not should I get into the pool. It's 3:12 in the afternoon. Hold on. And I'm trying to, because it is hot. And lately on my off days, I kind of just relaxed. I didn't really do much, which now I'm going back again. Did not manage my time very well. Now I'm going back to work, but be grateful. You got mm, paying, money. This video, I'm kind of reflecting back to the idea concept. Am I a Star Wars fan? Yes, yes. I'm a casual fan of the franchise. I grew up watching the movies, and I remember having the VHS of episodes 4 and 6 as long as I can remember. For whatever reason, we never had five until I had it rented at Hollywood Video Studios. Studios. Hollywood Videos. I remember the cassette. The cassette was old and battered and beaten, but still I was able to manage to watch the film. And first time watching that, because I remember the what was that critic, Leonard Moulton or Leonard Martin, in his interviews with George Lucas before the movie would start, and he would kind of give into a deep dive of what inspired him to pursue Star Wars. And honestly, I didn't even I did not pay attention back then that he didn't direct 5 and 6 until later on and researched it. And I always thought those interviews was special because it kind of gave you an insight, and it kind of left you imagining what was going on in George Lucas's head when he was creating such um, fantasy of this property. And unfortunately, too bad that the VHS's episodes 1 and 2 they didn't have those interviews. Unfortunately, because there was really something special about it. There was something special about trying to understand the creator's mind when he made this. And now I didn't really get into the lore of Star Wars. And in fact, actually, I spent some time learning about it, but and I don't mind learning still to this day, learning more about the lore. I know there's a huge fandoms of Star Wars that love the lore, and it's fascinating to learn and it's fascinating to watch. Like Star Wars Theory, which I like to watch every now and then. Uh, and there was another, was it Star Wars Coffee? There's another channel that was explaining the lore of Star Wars, and there was a video that lasted for like 5 hours. I don't think I watched the whole thing, but I was into it, and it was fascinating. And it baffles me that the fans who understand the lore a lot more than the filmmakers themselves or the studios behind it are making Star Wars know the lore better than they do, and the game developers actually create better companion pieces to Star Wars than they are with the actual movies. Now, I haven't read any of the novels, the add-on novels that came on like after the original movies, and I didn't really buy into it. And what I mean by that, I just never was big on novelizations of the properties of something that was based off a big movie franchise. That's something. I think the only book I read that I was into was a novelization of Episode 3. I remember I got that at a book fair from school, bought it and read it, and then I remember they had the little pictures of the movies put into it. But since the George Lucas sold his franchise to Disney, and we all know what's going on there. We all know what happened. You just fish out a movie without actually having a plan. Which still to this day, I still like The Last Jedi. It's just I haven't gone back and rewatched it as much, knowing that's what happened with the franchise overall, that there wasn't a plan to get these stories out. They just fished them out. And that's what really hurt revisiting these movies. There are some nice moments, but to know there wasn't a coherent plan to tell the stories or these stories out, just it's sad because it does take the love, the heart from the franchise. At least for me as a fan, that they had investors that were just BSing. It's like money, 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 money. Money's fine, but if that overclouds love over respect over the franchise, then of course you're going to ruin the franchise. Which we all know what has happened for the last 7 years now. 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, or shoot, maybe going on 8 since The Last Jedi. That Star Wars had been a ongoing topic of discussion of fans expressing their disapproval of the direction that it's been headed. It's 8 years. It's going to hit on 10 next year when The Force Awakens, December of next year. It will be 10 years. And the only thing that was really memorable and kind of good was Rogue One. Again, I still like The Last Jedi. But the reason why I really, really enjoyed The Last Jedi was that I really did like Rian Johnson's direction and his approach to it. I love the subversion, the surprises he let out. But I'm talking about just as a film itself, as a nicely constructed film, science fiction film. Now, connecting the stories overall, yeah, they don't mash up because they didn't. The writers, filmmakers, producers didn't align together a plan of what they were going to do. And then you have the Rise of Skywalker, which I didn't bother seeing in theaters. I just saw it on Disney Plus, and yeah, it was probably the worst Star Wars film. You feel that it was crammed. You just feel that they just thought of stories or just plot lines as they went along just to rush out a film. And if for those who like it, cool. I got no judge. I'm not going to judge you any of that. You know, I think also one of the best things that have come out of the Star Wars franchise is Visions. And honestly, I would love to see an expansion on these anime shorts. I really wish, like the first season was almost 4 years ago now, I think. And I really wish they expanded on making it into a feature, or some of these shorts into a feature, or at least a feature animated film, and keep the animation. Uh, Especially the Ninth Jedi could have and will be. It could be a whole new reinventive of maybe look or approach that Star Wars needs, and I believe that to be so. Second season was fine. I like that they've took the time or took the chance of allowing other countries to put their own interpretation of what Star Wars mean to them. I loved a lot of the animation that went on behind it, despite the trend of what took place. But hell, I'm not here to bash female leads. One of my favorite movies of all time is a female lead. It's just the story. I think what really gets fans into a debate, it's what's actually been going on is the gender war that's put into these movies. Like, we're not trying to compete, we're not trying to compare, we're not trying to do any of this. Let's just work together and have a good film that we all love and enjoy. But then you can't deny that there's a certain um, genres that attract certain. There are certain genres for certain sexes. I'll say that. Okay, there's that's it. That's it. No matter the small or chunk percentage of those who do like those other genres, to its core, there's always going to be guys who like action, sci-fi, perhaps comedy, more grittier and rougher stuff. Girls do like romance, comedy, more something that feels more feminine. And I was on board somewhat with Star Wars, but after reflecting back on The Last Jedi and seeing that trend of what took place and seeing what's happening with the other films and other franchises, the last Star Wars property that really did it for me was the Book of Boba Fett. They had a strong first episode, and then it just went nowhere. And I felt like the direction and the writers didn't know what to do, where to go with the story, so they just brought in the Mandalorian. First two seasons of Mandalorian was cool. That third season did not need to exist. It was a cash grab. Like, it felt pointless. And I'm big on subversion. I like subversion. The movie I saw Maxine. For a slasher film, it was a subversion of its genre and it tried to do something different, which I appreciated. There was an aspect about the film I didn't really like too well, but I'm not going to get into that. Book of Boba Fett had an interesting idea, but I think it was an example of of work that wasn't fully fleshed out, and it should have been fleshed out, and should have probably taken more time to figure out where they wanted to take the story. Because I think the concept of having Boba Fett his own story, his own show, was amazing. And plus, when he appeared in the second season of Mandalorian, he stole the show. But then when the Mandalorian came in and Book of Boba Fett, they did the reverse, which wasn't supposed to happen. Okay, and it's sad to kind of see where the franchise is headed. Because truthfully, I'm just hearing what other content creators are saying about the series, like the show of Obi-Wan Kenobi. I didn't bother watching the show. I just watched the Patterson cut that was available online to watch. That was a 2.5 hour movie. I did watch Andor. Andor was good, and I feel like Andor is underrated. Maybe I need to rewatch that to kind of see what I thought about it. I thought the show was too slow. Like, I thought it was too slow, and you didn't know where it was going until like the second half of the series, which was bold. But I thought there wasn't enough interesting ideas to 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 make it interesting to kind of figure out where it was going to go, if that makes sense. There were just a lot of, and I like the tribute to those Cold War spy political thrillers. And maybe because it was a television show, they took its time developing certain aspects around the story. maybe a little bit too much. Maybe there were too many episodes, at least for me, to kind of get the story across. I thought it was too long. But as a Star Wars form of content, which I have to agree with Robert Burnett on this one, I'm not really liking the word content. It just feels disposable. It was pretty good. They have some pretty good action sequences for a Star Wars show. And I'm looking forward to season two, but I do worry about season two. Is that going to be as slow as the first season? With Obi-Wan, I'd be honest, I'm not interested in watching the series. I'm fine with the Patterson cut, with the make it into a 2.5 hour film. And honestly, that's a pretty good companion piece to Star Wars if they kept it like that. Yeah, I'm not really big on the shaky cam of the fight scenes. It just felt it doesn't feel professional. It does feel like a gimmick. It does. Since Book of Boba Fett, and no disrespect to Robert Rodriguez, I'm glad he was invited and added his spin to what Star Wars meant to him. But yeah, I mean, there were some unnecessary qualities um about the show that just did turn me off. With the I don't know. I mean, look, he likes to reference his other previous works, and he did it in this. I don't think it worked, but I do tell you that I know he directed the last couple episodes of of season two of Mandalorian. I thought he was cool directing it if he, I guess, stayed true to the Star Wars formula. And I would have been fine with him staying in Star Wars longer. But yeah, the way they did with the Book of Boba Fett was it's only been 2 years now, I think, that show. I'm just not interested, whatever they got. Uh, I mean, I like the games. I remember this one Star Wars game that they had. It was like a fighting game where you played the original characters. I don't remember what that game is. I'll have to look it up. But I remember Darth Vader looked at purple. He wasn't black. And going and thinking about two of the games, like the Jedi Survivor, The Force Unleashed, Knights of the Old Republic, which I haven't played, but I heard just parts of it and what it was all about. You could feel the love and the lore expanded into the games a lot better than the movies. So I'm kind of curious, like what's going to happen with in the future a little bit here with Star Wars. Like if the fans are going to get so fed up with the franchise, I mean, they're just tuning out. Are they going to just start? I mean, with copyright, unless they're going to get away around it, they're going to just start making their own little Star Wars, which they are. But I wonder if you're going to see more of that. Or who knows? Maybe there's going to be somebody who is so much of a Star Wars fan. I'm talking about like a big, 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 rich entrepreneur guy, like Jeff Bezos or Elon Musk, who somehow, some way, somehow buys the property out of Disney and just allows the fans, and who knows, maybe have their own production company and just allow the fans who are truly diehard fans who want to work in the industry, give it to them, but give it to them ensuring that they respect the franchise the right way. I mean, because really, for the last 10 years, almost 10 years, I haven't watched Ahsoka. I did try watching Clone Wars, the television series, and I'm still having troubles just grabbing around the concept that this character was around between episodes 2 and 3, and I don't know. It's just it's canon. It's canon. I mean, I'm not making it a big deal. I would like to continue where I left off. I think I'm on season 2 or 3 on Clone Wars, uh, but it doesn't. I don't know. There's just it's like I appreciate the 5 minute ones that came out in 2005 and six by the creator of Samurai Jack, which I don't think he was really involved with the CGI series. But I mean, honestly, it was cool. The CGI series were interesting. It's good. Um, Unfortunately, when I was 2005 and 6, one was like 12 or 13 or whatever that year was, I just had a tough time registering that this was actually happening around between episodes 2 and 3. If that was the case, and who knows, maybe they just were planning it in 2002 or 3 and just, hey, George Lucas, we got a story. Let's try to see if we could test this out with Clone Wars and to kind of get it out there. And maybe I might go back and watch it if I decide to go back to Disney Plus. If I have no interest in watching The Acolyte, I don't care what other. Well, I wouldn't say that. I wouldn't say that. I wouldn't say I wouldn't care. I mean, I do care, but just the excitement to watch it or any future Star Wars properties except for Visions or except adapting Visions into something bigger or maybe some of the games. I'll probably be excited for. Because first off the record with episode 7, the way they introduced the newer characters, I thought they were great, and I wish they'd done more fleshing those characters out as characters that felt natural instead of making it into a agenda piece. Because yeah, I do acknowledge reflecting back on the Last Jedi, they did make all the male characters kind of weak. I do acknowledge that. But out of all the other Star Wars films, I think is one of the most beautiful looking Star Wars movies. But with this new age of AI, there's no telling what could happen in the industry. Because even I mean, I want to work in there, but um, I mean, you only got one life, right? But I think it is imperative to maybe learn some of this technology that's coming out. And who knows, maybe the fans who do learn it will make their own spin of Star Wars and just say, I'm gonna make a better Star Wars than what it was called. And somehow, somebody, or whoever, who knows, there could be a collection of people out there who loves it so much, come together, formulate a group, raise the money to buy the Star Wars property off of Disney. I'm just throwing it out there as an idea. I mean, we had filmmakers raise money to buy the Fox Theater, which I went for the first time back in March to see Doom Part 2. Awesome movie. But if fans really, really Now, I know there are big multi-million dollar fans out there. If you really had the money to join forces together, if you really want to, you could buy you could buy that property from them. I'm just saying. But am I a Star Wars fan? Yeah. It's just a lot of the stuff that they've been making hasn't been that good. And truthfully, a lot of big budget movies haven't really been that good. I mean, besides Dune, I mean, A24 is getting bigger budget, but they're still approaching ideas with riskier. They're still being risky, and I like that. I saw Kinds of Kindness, which I talked about in my review. I recommend it, but again, it's not going to be for everybody. It's going to be released nationwide later this weekend, and I'm definitely going to see Longlegs, which I feel bad actually seeing that, and I probably shouldn't see it, but I want to see it. Yep. But I think at this point, regarding with Star Wars and with the technology that is coming out, I mean, if you really want to, you could rise together, fund the money yourself, or raise the money to buy to buy the franchise off of them. I'm just saying.